Belarus says that it is working to repatriate migrants at its border with Poland in an apparent attempt aimed at diffusing the crisis. This comes as the European Union prepares new sanctions against Belarus. The move follows a high-level contact between Brussels and Minsk. Lukashenko's apparent olive branch came as the bloc plans to adopt new penalties over the crisis. The EU Foreign Policy Chief, Josep Borrell, said in a tweet that the current situation at the border between Belarus and the EU is unacceptable. Borrell said that he had spoken to the Belarusian foreign minister on the phone about, and I quote, the precarious humanitarian situation at the Poland-Belarus border. Thousands of migrants, mainly from the Middle East, are camping out at the border. Brussels is blaming Lukashenko for the crisis. It is accusing Minsk of encouraging these migrants to come to Belarus and then taking them to the border. This allegedly in retaliation against EU sanctions slapped on the country. Meanwhile, Russian President Vladimir Putin has also rejected accusations of being involved in the crisis, but the Kremlin says that Russia is ready to mediate in the migrant crisis. Some 2,000 migrants, including pregnant women and children, are living in the biggest camp at a village. Belarusian authorities have delivered aid, including tents and heaters. Belarusian Red Cross contributed food and supplies to the migrants. The move could make the camp a semi-permanent presence on the border. Poland has refused to allow the migrants in and has accused Belarus of preventing them from leaving. Despite the difficulties, big groups of migrants regularly make it across the border, and many are often detained and then sent back to Belarus. Aid agencies say at least 10 migrants have died on the border so far. Meanwhile, the Polish Prime Minister has called on NATO to take concrete steps to address this crisis. For more on this, Julia Chapman is now joining us live on WION from Moscow. Julia, thanks for joining us. Now, we at WION have been tracking the migrant crisis closely at the Belarus-Poland border. The EU is now readying sanctions on Belarus for the same. Will this lead to an escalation of the crisis?
Well, certainly Belarus isn't very happy about the impending sanctions, which are expected to be announced today by the EU foreign ministers who are meeting in Brussels, and it comes after the European Commission confirmed that there would be a widening of sanctions that are already in place against Belarus for human rights abuse accusations dating back to the protest movement in Belarus that started in August last year after the presidential election. And certainly the situation on the border remains very tense, with earlier today many migrants being apparently encouraged by Belarusian authorities towards a border crossing with Poland, a closed border crossing, and they seem to be gathering there, having moved from their original camp a bit further down along the Belarusian-Polish border. But the Polish side certainly isn't planning to let them in. There remains a heavy fortification of the Polish border, particularly at that closed crossing, and it appears that the migrants are setting up camp there, but there are suggestions that the encouragement of the Belarusian authorities of these migrants towards the crossing was some sort of attempt to put pressure on Europe, the European Union, ahead of the announcement of these sanctions.
WION World is now available in your country. Download the app now and get all the news updates on the move.